In Season 1 of the Fallout television series, we get to see a Brotherhood airship. And while it would be easy to assume that this is the Prydwen from Fallout 4, the producers of the show are very quick to point out this is actually a new airship called the Caswennan. This airship has gone on to cause great debate amongst the fans, as a lot of people still think this is meant to be the Prydwen. So let's examine the evidence, let's take all of the footage we have, and let's compare the two and see if we can determine once and for all, is this really the Prydwen, or is this a new ship? So let's start with the ship in the television series. We first get to see the airship as an ominous shadow when the aspirants are having a lesson. This scene is followed by the section we've seen in previous trailers where they all come up and look up in the sky in awe of this ship. And Maximus even goes on to tell us, I wonder why they're here. So we can infer from this dialogue pretty conclusively that this airship isn't from this chapter and it has come from somewhere outside. Now later the High Cleric does go on to mention that their mission has come from the Commonwealth. So a great deal of the circumstantial evidence certainly points to the fact that this airship is from the Commonwealth. So with the producers very clearly stating that this is a new airship with a new name, why are the fans all of a sudden deciding that this is the Prydwen? Well, it all comes down to this one small detail. Even though it's pretty much impossible to make out with the naked eye, you can just about see some lettering on the side of the ship in the first view, and then in this very brief second view, if you enhance the picture you can see the word Prydwen on the side of the ship. So this is conclusive, right? The name is on the side of the ship. What more evidence do we need? Well, hold on a minute, there is a slight problem here. The model they've used for the show is very different from the one in Fallout 4. So let's put the two models side by side and we'll take a look at those differences. So in this picture we can see the game model at the bottom and the TV show model at the top. And why they superficially look very similar, let's go through the differences. First of all, look at these vents on the side of the game ship. You can see there's 3 vents in this first body section. And you can see there's no vents in the next 2 body sections, but there are these 2 large coils. If we compare that up to the TV show model, we can see these vents repeat along the whole length of the ship. And the ship also seems to have the coils as well. Now if we compare the body panels, you can see here on the game version, there's only 4 panels per body section. Whereas if you have a look at the TV show version, you can see it has 8 panels. And this pattern is repeated around the front and the back of the ship as well. Now when I'm talking about body sections, I'm talking about these 3 sections here you can see are the same size on the game model. But when we compare that to the TV show model, we can see that this body section has been repeated 4 times. This obviously makes the ship much larger. Now the next major difference, if we take a look at the TV show model here, is you can see it has 4 of the retracting arms that are used to capture the vertibirds. Let's call them the vertibird docking arms. Now you can clearly see this model has 4. And of course you'll remember from the games that the actual game version of the model only has the 2, or 2 on each side. Now if I move to a side view here, you can see this again in far more detail. Once again, the size of the ship being much larger is very evident. You can see the 4 docking arms against the 2 on the game model very clearly here. We can also see if we look at the deck has these large supports. You can see these 2 at the back and there are 2 further down. It's clearly a much longer, larger deck. We notice the flight control deck here is considerably larger on the TV show model. And overall, if you look at the length of the gantry, it appears to be much longer. And if we go along the deck to the area where you would enter the Prydwen, we can see on the game model as we're used to going up these steps into this building that leads to an observation deck. And again, if we compare it with the TV show version, we can see that this is extended much longer. If we go with this lower view again, we can see the same thing with this being much longer. Appears to have perhaps windows along the side there. I'm not sure if these are meant to be windows or some kind of panelling, but again, they are not present at all on the game. And as I mentioned about the entrance in the game, you go up a small set of steps and go through a door. There's usually a powered armoured knight there guarding that door you go into, but you definitely go up the steps. Whereas you can see again on the television model here, there appears to be an entrance on the lower section, actually on the deck section. This appears to be quite a major change. Now, a quick consultation with the Fallout wiki, which I use all the time, it's brilliant, go over and check those guys out, shows that the estimated length of the game model is 165 metres. I think we can safely say the television version is considerably bigger. So I don't want to tell you guys what to think about this, I want to know your opinions, but as far as I can tell, there's only 3 ways we can sum this up. The first option is we believe the original promotional materials. This is a completely new ship, it's called the Caswennan, it's much bigger. That of course gives us the problem with the name on the side, but as you really can't see it with the naked eye, perhaps they knew about this, it was something they went to change and never got round to changing. Either way, this would be an error to have the name Prydwen on it. The second option is we accept that this is the Prydwen from Fallout 4, and we go by the name, but then we have the problem with the physical model is obviously just massively different. So we could explain that in universe to say that the Brotherhood completely rebuilt the ship. Maybe they've started from the ground up and built a new ship and just called that the Prydwen. Maybe this is a second version of the ship. Maybe the first one was destroyed and you can go with one of those endings where the ship's destroyed and this is a second version. If you want to call this the Prydwen, it either has to be completely rebuilt or a totally new ship. Or of course we had a third option, and that's a very real world option. And that's to say that the ship was always meant to be this big, and just because of the limitations of consoles at the time, they had to greatly shrink it down for Fallout 4, but they always wanted it and intended it to be this big. The problem, if we go along with this explanation, is it means this is a visual reboot of Fallout. That's a little bit tricky. Now, it seems from everything else in the show, they've tried to recreate everything else almost exactly. From every gun, weapons, everything looks exactly the same. Props, sets. Why massively change something like this if you're going to keep everything else exactly the same? So we have 3 options here as far as I can see it, but I really want to know what you guys think. So do you think I've summed up the options really well? Is there something else you can think of? Have I missed something here? Get down in the comments. Let's get some discussions going. Let's find out what we all think about this. Hopefully at some point it'll come out with a clarification, or I'm sure we're going to see this airship again in Season 2. But until then, let's get down and let's get chatting. Now, if you're still watching, you'll definitely like some of my other content. Here's my suggestions of what to watch next. Don't forget to smash the like button before you go, and I hope to see you in another video very soon. Thanks for watching.